Okay, so you can go ahead and lie back on your backs. If you have any low back issues, you can lie back with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor, or even better, place a bolster underneath your knees. You might want to pull a blanket up underneath you in case you get chilly. And you could put an eye pillow over your eyes if you want. Today, we're going to be focusing on the kidney and bladder meridians. So your kidney meridians run along the insides of your legs and up the sides of your body, along the sides of your torso. And then your bladder meridian is the longest meridian in your body, and it runs up the backs of your legs and up the backs of your body on either side of your spine. And to affect the meridians, which run along the same lines as your fascial trains, there's 3 ways that we can do that. We can pressurize them or pull on them or stress them like we do in yin yoga when we put our body into shapes. We can also use breath practices, and we can use visualization. And today we're going to rely on all 3 because we'll be putting our body into shapes. And we're going to be doing a breath practice that combines breathing and visualization to gather energy to help to restore your energy. So your kidneys are the essence energy of your body. They're like the storehouse energy of your body. And so one of the ways we can gather energy for your kidneys is through breath and visualization. And we're going to do a breath practice today called the 3 stars of the lower dantian being in your lower belly. So we're going to begin by breathing into the sea of qi, which is basically your lower dantian, at the 3 finger widths below your navel and about 2 finger widths below that. So just focus your attention on breathing into this space and actually imagine it as a sea of qi. And as you breathe into this space, over time, let the sea of qi settle and calm so that the sea becomes more and more tranquil, and your breath will slow down too. You can actually visualize the sea getting wider and deeper, pooling in this area. And then the second star of the lower dantian is called the foundation of yin, and it's right down in your pelvic floor. So imagine just breathing right down into your pelvic floor, letting all the energy of your body settle down into your pelvic floor. This area, the foundation of yin, is much more earthy than the sea of qi. And then you're going to focus on the third star of the lower dantian, which is in your lower back, closer to your kidneys. So breathing into your lower back now. And this area is called the gate of life. And while the other 2 points were quite yin, this point is more yang, more energizing and more fiery. So you can feel it like you can feel the warmth of it as you breathe into your lower back. And then we're going to connect the 3 stars of the lower dantian so they create a closed circuit. So you're going to imagine a tide going from the gate of life at the back to the sea of qi at the front, 3 finger widths below your navel, 2 finger widths behind that. And it's like a tide going back and forth. So imagine the tide rolling in from the gate of life to the sea of qi, just as you're breathing there. So this breath practice, the 3 stars of the lower dantian, helps to cultivate qi, energy or prana, and it nourishes the kidneys, which are the storehouse of qi. So the kidneys are your storehouse of qi, your jing qi, your essence qi, which you were given when you were born. You inherit it from your ancestors. We can do things like this breath practice, to help bolster the energy. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to come into our first yin posture, which is going to be wide-legged child's pose. If that doesn't work for your body, you can take wide knees to chest on your back. The kidneys, as I said, run along the insides of your legs, so we're wanting to stimulate the energy lines along the insides of your legs here. You can have a bolster here if you want for wide-kneed child's pose. The main point is to stimulate the meridians along the insides of your legs. That's the main point. And we're going to come back to that 3 stars of the lower dantian breath. So we'll start in child's pose. We're going to breathe into the sea of qi. Just 3 finger widths below the navel, 2 finger widths behind that, and just imagine the sea of qi here gathering in your lower belly and the waves getting more and more calm and tranquil. And then breathing into the foundation of yin, right into the pelvic floor, the more earthy, grounding yin space, letting all of your energy pool down into the pelvic floor from your whole body. And then breathing up into the lower back, into the gate of life. Feeling the more yang energy here. Feeling the warmth, the more fiery quality here in the low back. And then bringing the tide from back to front, from the gate of life to the sea of chi, 3 fingertips below your navel. Just imagine that tide rolling in between those two places. Combining breath and visualization. And then we're going to slowly release our bodies from this position and come onto our backs to feel the rebound from this pose. You can put your props off to the side because you probably won't need them for the next pose. Okay, so we're going to bend our knees and roll over onto our stomachs now. And on your stomach, we're going to do Sphinx pose. So you can always place a block underneath your head if Sphinx pose is too much for your neck. Just wiggle your hips from side to side to release your low back. Tuck your toes under, reach up through your knee, reach back through your heel on both sides to release your low back, and then walk your elbows back underneath you. And we're going to do the same 3 stars of the lower dantian practice again to cultivate the chi and nourish the kidneys again. In this pose, we're actually pressurizing the kidneys here. So the kidneys lie right underneath the rib cage in the back, and you can actually feel the pressure in the kidneys here. So there's an example of pressurizing the kidneys. Okay, so we're going to begin by breathing into the sea of chi, right? 3 fingertips below the navel, 2 fingers behind that. Visualizing that sea getting calmer and deeper and more tranquil. And then we'll move to the 2nd star, the lower dantian, breathing into the foundation of yin, the more earthy yin space. Here we are gathering all the energy of the body and letting it pool down in the earthy space of the foundation of yin. And then breathing up into the low back to the yang energy of the gate of life, feeling the warmth, more fiery energy here. And then bringing the tide from the gate of life forward to the sea of chi, letting it flow forward, connecting the three. And then you're going to slowly lower down onto your belly and feel the rebound. You might feel energy pooling in your low back, and you might feel energy moving, surging in your lower belly as we cultivate that chi in the 3 stars of the lower dantian. Okay, so our next yin pose is going to be for the urinary bladder meridian, which runs along the back of your body. So we're going to do half-happy baby pose. So you're going to lie on your back. You could use a bolster underneath your pelvis if you like that. I tend to like that for half-happy baby pose. You're going to, if you do, just press into your feet and place the bolster underneath your pelvis. And I'm going to draw my right leg in first, hold on to my feet, and extend my left leg out. So remember, in yin, we come into the pose, we find an appropriate edge, and we resolve to be still. And this is so that we can affect the deeper connective tissues in the body and let time and gravity do all the work. Okay, so you're going to release this side from your body slowly and feel the effects. And then we'll go ahead and do the other side. So your urinary bladder meridian runs up the backs of your legs and then either side of your spine. So it has a great effect on your nervous system. And then we stimulate your urinary bladder meridian. We can really affect your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest. So instead of being in that fight or flight mode, we can access a calmer way of being. Okay, and then release this side. And you're going to feel the rebound. And then we're going to, you've got the bolster underneath you, just remove the bolster and bend your knees, and you're going to roll to your side and come up to a seated position. For this next pose, you're going to need probably a folded blanket to assist you in doing your forward fold so that your hips are a little elevated so that they can roll over your leg bones a little more easily. So we're going to stay with the urinary bladder meridian here with caterpillar pose, which is seated forward fold with your legs out long. And you might want to use your bolster maybe in between your legs here like this so you can have something to rest your head on. And we're also going to return to the 3 stars of the lower dantian breath here. Okay. So find your appropriate edge. Once you've found your position, you're going to start to breathe into that sea of chi, just 3 finger widths below your navel, 2 finger widths behind that. And visualizing that sea of chi there, the sea of chi getting wider and deeper, and gradually getting calmer and more tranquil. And then breathing right down into your pelvic floor, into the foundation of yin, feeling the more earthy quality here, letting all the energy of your body pool down into the foundation of yin. And then breathing into your lower back, up to the more yang-like gate of life, feeling the warmer, more fiery nature here. And then closing the 3 stars of the lower dantian by flowing the energy from the gate of life, the lower back, to the sea of chi at just below the navel, imagining that tide just flowing in there. So here we are cultivating chi through breath and visualization. Just see if you can feel that internally in your own body. We're also nourishing your kidneys through this breath practice. Okay, so you're going to come out of this caterpillar pose and you're going to just take your position on your back to feel the rebound. And then you're going to bend your knees and roll to your side and come back up to your seated forward fold position and sit yourself elevated on your folded blanket again. This time we're going to access the kidney meridians again. So you're going to take your legs wide. So kidney meridians run along the inside of your legs. And you can use your bolster again. Lean forward, find that appropriate edge. So we're stimulating the energy lines along the insides of your legs. That's what you want to feel. And up the front of your body, that's the kidney meridian. And we're going to come back to that 3 stars of the lower dantian breath for the last time in our class today. So starting with the sea of chi, 3 finger widths below the navel, 2 finger widths behind that. Imagining that sea becoming deeper and more tranquil the deeper it gets. And then breathing into your pelvic floor, the foundation of yin, the more yin-like and earthy part of the 3 stars of the lower dantian, gathering all the energy from your body and letting it pool in the pelvic floor. And then breathing into your lower back, the gate of life, the more yang like energy, more fiery, warm. Let me join the 3 stars of the lower Dantian by imagining a tide coming from the gate of life forward to the sea of Qi. And as you do this, just see if you can tune inward to the 3 stars of the lower Dantian and get a sense of the qi that you cultivated through this practice. And then you're going to rest back on your back for Shavasana with your bolster underneath your knees, letting go of all techniques and just giving yourself time to integrate the practice, this yin practice for your kidney and bladder meridians. Okay, I have a poem for you today by Jan Zwicky called Songs for Relinquishing the Earth, and this is the first of 5 songs for relinquishing the earth. The rock weeps into its own whiteness, sunny meadow slopes, the gentians far above. The sun too tumbles down. A symphony of spruce boughs sinks into fiery moss. Jewel music, the amber roar of the falls. No one thinks of home. Waiting in the cool shadows, we are dappled with hope. So gradually allow your breath to deepen. Wiggle your fingers and toes. And slowly and gradually you can make your way up to a seated position, and we can have some time together in our circle now. So I've unmuted the lines, and if if you have any comments or questions about that practice for your kidney and bladder meridians, or the 3 stars of the lower dantian, we have some space. We can talk about that now.
I found that a really powerful breath practice. I could really feel the a shifting of the energy back and forward. And at one point, just before Happy Baby, I felt the heat from my back just spreading. Yeah, it's nice.
For me, it was a deep practice too. I am never sure about what I am feeling regarding of when it's about energy. I can't know if it's my imagination or if it's actual real sensations, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I always struggle a bit with energy, with sensing energy. Sometimes I can really deeply connect with the lower dantian and really feel that ball of energy irradiating. But actually, it's not really frequent. That's not so often. And tonight I didn't feel really that ball. But I do sense the sort of ground with the pelvic floor,
Mm-hmm.
and also the a shift of sensation regarding of the back of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when I don't know if it's my imagination, or if it's real sensation, but I do feel some heat and even some shift in my well, I suppose that's energy. Like more lightness, yeah, more light,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I do feel more refreshed. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I would say that imagination is absolutely how we access visualization. So I don't know that I would think that they're sort of one and the same.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I was actually visualizing.
Yeah.
How do you say that? Visualizing
Yeah.
the tide and like this sea replenishing and this movement, and I know that isn't actually happening maybe in my body, but I was, and so I don't know.
Yeah. I think in our, the way we've been raised and in our culture, we only trust what we see, you know? So, and yet there was what you're saying to me is that you felt distinct differences between the different parts. Yeah. So that
Yeah.
is a felt sensation of difference. And you felt a difference in your energy afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or over time through the practice of this. So
Over time.
yeah.
Yes, and that's part of letting go, no? This cultural conditioning of
Yeah. If you can't see it, or if you can't prove it, if you can't see it, it doesn't exist, or you can't prove it. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's strange is this the unregularity of the disconnection. You know, that sometimes it's really deep, and sometimes it's like if I can't catch up, like when we do earth meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I can visualize and connect and blah blah, and sometimes that's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
That's strange. I feel like I don't know. That's strange. I suppose that depends a lot of the mood and what we have in mind, and a lot of circumstances, I suppose.
Yeah, it's, you know, part of being a human being too, right? We're not always the same. Yeah.
Yeah. What I found really amazing, it's how short I found this 5 minutes. We hold the pause 5 minutes, right?
We had the poses 5 minutes.
And I find those 5 minutes going so quick. And at the beginning of the yin practices, 3 minutes were like, my God, when this is going to stop? Yeah. And now it's soothing into the pose, and I appreciate this a lot.
Yeah, and particularly with the breath practice, because there's so much. It felt like there's so much to do in the pose, and I felt it went really fast, the 5 minutes, because we were cultivating all that chi. So this is an example of how we can. It's not better or worse, but it's not more, well, I think it is a more advanced practice in some ways. This is an example of how we can deepen our yin practice through visualization. So if the intention is to stimulate the meridian lines and to cultivate qi and nourish the meridians, then we can use breath and visualization to do it as well. And so for this class, I chose a particular breath practice that we carried pretty much through the whole class, except for one pose where I just felt that it probably would have worked in Half Happy Baby too, actually. And once I was in it, I thought it probably would have been fine. But it was nice to actually let it go in one pose too, I think. But to carry that breath practice through the whole practice and use it as a way to cultivate the qi for the kidneys as well. So it's an interesting way to just go a little further with the yin, I think. I don't think I would do it with the YouTube classes. I would only do it with you guys. Yeah.
I think as well, because we've worked with feeling that leak in the lower dantian before.
Yeah.
It's another step onto that upper practice already done.
Yeah, it was layering on of a few things that you're familiar with, like yin breathing, 3-part breathing, and then the leg too. Yeah. So, I felt that it was an okay practice to introduce.
I did feel when I started it that, the rocking that we do when we do the yin breathing, that kind of pelvic rocking, is it yin breathing we do that?
Do we do pelvic rocking and yin breathing? Do you do pelvic rocking and yin breathing?
I do quite often. I feel my pelvis tipping.
Okay, yeah.
and I wanted to do that to feel I was moving the energy back and forward until it started to go on its own. I just felt that just at the very beginning.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and visualization is like a muscle too, right? It tends to be weak for many of us because we don't use it much.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be one that we can, the more we practice it, the stronger it gets and the easier it gets. So if we bring that in more to our yin practice, it'll become easier to visualize. Yeah. Yeah, so thank you for practicing with me today. I found it to be, I can still actually feel that. So it's for those of you who are familiar with Qigong practices, it's like a smaller version of the microcosmic orbit, the big one. It's a smaller version of that, just in the lower dantian. I can still feel it orbiting down there.
Mm-hmm.
It's really quite powerful.
It is.
And I can really feel the chi that we cultivated today. It feels quite, I feel quite a lot of energy from that.
Yeah, I felt quite tired when I came into the class. Now I feel quite energized again.
Yeah, and I feel that energy up here too. Yeah. So thank you very much for coming today, and thank you for your participation and for talking about the practice. I always enjoy that part of it. And I will see Jane tomorrow probably. Yeah, and we'll be talking about dreaming, which I'm excited about. So see you tomorrow. Thanks everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Namaste.
Namaste.